Welcome to Inside the Islanders. I'm George Matthews. With me, the head coach of the Charlottetown Islanders and the team's GM, Jim Hulton. For Jim Hulton, this is his third season as head coach of the Charlottetown Islanders, second as the team's GM. And, of course, the Islanders' Jim last year, historic year as far as the Islanders were concerned. Points in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, wins in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, going deeper than ever into the third round, of course. A major junior franchise here in PEI has never done that. But with that success comes a little bit of cost because you had some premier players move on into pro hockey, which of course every major junior team wants to be known for. You've done your job there developing some future NHLers, but for this season, this training camp here, a little bit of a recharge as far as the organization is concerned.
Well, it certainly is, and with that, I think in a strange way has created a renewed excitement, I think, amongst the staff. It is going to be a different complexion of a team, but it's the nature of junior hockey, and there's a price to pay. We loaded up for it. I think our fan base understands that. What excites me is the experience that our core got. When I look at Welsh, Joseph, Getson, Akin, etc. down the line, that's going to be our new core of leadership that's going to take this franchise in a different direction perhaps than it's been in the last couple of years. And it's made for a heck of a competitive situation here at training camp because there's a lot of jobs up for grabs, and it's been nice to see that early compete that we want to instill into this group.
Jim, of course, will break the team down, starting with goaltending, of course. Goaltender Matty Welsh, terrific rookie season a couple of years ago as the backup to Mason McDonald. Some pretty good expectations on him last year. I don't think overall when he analyzed his year he would be really, really happy with it. He's back this year. You're expecting better things from him as your number one goaltender, but Dakota Lund-Cornish as well, big frame goaltender, looks pretty athletic. He's vying for that backup position as well.
Yes, he is, and we think that one of the strengths of the franchise right now is goaltending. And I harken back to my first year when Welsh came in, and we knew that we had the luxury of probably having our future number one locked up. I think, not unlike a lot of young players, year number two was a little bit of adversity for him, but normally when these kids weather that adversity, they're better off for it. And knowing the character that Matt has and the confidence that he carries himself with, when I see him come back in and lead the fitness testing on day one, that tells me that he had his nose to the grindstone with a proper focus this summer. And I think he's poised at 18 to carry the load as the number one. That in turn sets itself up for an excellent position for Dakota Lund-Cornish if he's successful. He's had a great training camp. He's probably been our most pleasant surprise, and by surprise I just meant he's improved in leaps and bounds from a year ago. He now looks poised and ready to be a backup in the Quebec League. And again, that's his natural progression, to get into 15 to 25 games this year, similar to what Matty did a few years ago. He's a big body, handles the puck well. Again, we think it's a strength for our organization moving forward.
When you look at the blue line, you've got Sako Vestorinen, of course, your European prospect coming back for his sophomore season here in the Q. Hunter Drew as well, who really, I thought, improved in the second half of the season last year. Those are two defensemen, but your linchpin back there, as far as the Islanders are concerned, would be Joseph, Pierre-Olivier Joseph, a first-round pick of the Phoenix Coyotes. He's the guy you're going to look for a lot of ice time this year.
Well, he certainly is, and those three guys, but led by Pia. I don't think it's any secret. 23rd pick overall in the world to Arizona. He, again, had a terrific summer. Both he and Welsh tied in one of our fitness tests, which, again, tells me that he didn't let the selection go to his head. In fact, he did the opposite. It renewed his focus in terms of his commitment to summer training, and he's got a big month ahead of him. He's going to head to Arizona a few weeks early for a skating clinic, then into main camp. He'll get some wonderful experiences. That's only going to make him and us better when he comes back. Sako's another young man who looked like he had a great summer. He's leaned up, putting on some man strength, I guess is the expression, and his feet look a lot better. And I had the opportunity to be on the ice with Hunter a few times this summer, and he continued his progression. I thought you talk about probably our most improved player in our roster last year, and Hunter was definitely that. And then we have a number of openings right now, and again, the competition for the spots back there is very fierce. We brought in some free agents from Ontario that have looked good in the early going, and we want to be on merit, so that's why we're going to wait on our decision for the final couple of spots and make sure that we whittle through the selection. We've been very happy with Noah Massey, who we acquired in the Mark Grammet-Bauer trade at the draft. He looks like that steady, rock-solid, stay-at-home defenseman that every team needs, so there's a couple more spots up for grabs.
Jim, you've run a couple of free agent camps in Ontario, obviously, over the last couple of years. Hunter Drew coming from that camp 2 years ago, but a couple of defensemen, Allison and Egan. Talk to us about what they bring to the table and their potential possibility here of playing in Charlottetown.
Yeah, contrasting styles. Allison is the first thing that jumps out at you is his size, 6'4", 200-plus pound right shot defenseman. And when you hear those attributes in the same sentence, you get excited. You can't teach size. Traditionally, as you know, the right-handed shot's difficult to come by. He's a big body. His feet are probably better than we expected. He's a project. We want to see how his progression continues over the course of exhibition here. Egan, on the other hand, is more your typical modern-day mobile defenseman. He looks very, very comfortable with the puck. In the early going in the inner squad, his decision-making was very good. His vision was very good. He looks like he could be that power play offensive mobile defenseman that every team nowadays has. So contrasting style, but early reports and returns, I guess, extremely excited by the potential of both of them.
Of course, Jim Hulton with us here on Inside the Islanders. For Jim, he is the team's head coach and as well the GM. Nice. Of course, when you have both jobs, you can certainly organize free agent camps and analyze players and bring in who you want as both the GM and the head coach. Now, of course, another decision that you're going to be looking at here that'll work its way through, and you can tell me the timeline of it actually, but you've got four 20-year-olds still here in camp, all of the forward position. How does that break down?
Well, I guess one of the byproducts of having an older team was having a glut of 97-born overage candidates this year. We're not alone. You look around the league, there's a number of kids in the same situation. Again, I think the one theme that we've kind of stick on is competition. We want spots to be earned on merit, so the 497s is going to be up for grabs. Pascal Akin and Will Bauer are currently in the lineup. Dylan Boucher's out day-to-day with a knee injury, and then Adam Marsh was attending to some family matters. He's going to be arriving here this weekend now. Tied in with that, as we know for sure, Marsh is going to Arizona's main camp. Akin is waiting, hoping to get a tryout, and I think we all fully understand that he deserves an opportunity there. And the uncertainty there is that both of these guys are American League eligible. If they ever had a good camp, they could sign. We ran into that situation with Alec Dosty in the summer. We thought would be back, but to his credit, signed with Anaheim. So there's a lot of moving targets with the overage possibilities, and probably won't know until right up to the opener and maybe into October.
And of course, with, as we just mentioned, 4 20-year-olds, all forwards, you potentially could be looking at the blue line as well, and perhaps trying to anchor another player in there as a 20-year-old.
Well, there is, and we've talked at length, I think, last year about how strong the entire 1997 age was in the Quebec League, and there's going to be a lot of kids at 97 with only being limited to 3 overages per roster. There's going to be a lot of names floating out there. That process has started in some cases. There's been a little bit of movement this week. That will continue to intensify here. The trade window was open until August 29th, and at that point it's closed until the December trading period. So there will be, in that point, there's trading. There's also the waiver wire. You can't obviously block a young man from having an opportunity here. So there is a lot of possibilities still up in the air here in the next couple of weeks.
Of course, your Euro prospect, your one and only pick this year in the European import draft, Nikita Alexandrov. Talk to us about him. He looks a lot bigger than what I was anticipating.
Yeah, you know what? In training camp always produces a lot of surprises, some pleasant, some not so pleasant. Our first one occurred when Nikita got off the airplane, and all of a sudden he was 6'2" and not 5'9".
Yes,
he's 6'2", 180 pounds, and from a distance, and it's been strange, and I'm sure our fans have probably can attest to this, he reminds you of Schlappick. They've had him at number 14. He's got the blonde Eastern European look, but he's going to bring a lot of the same attributes that Phil brought to our lineup for 3 years. I think he's a natural offensive player. He's only going to get better as he gets more adapt to his surroundings and to the style of play, but when you do the isolation drills in practice, this kid has a very quick stick. He's got an eye for offense. He's in great shape. So we think we got very, very lucky with this pick.
Well, of course, when you get Alexandrov, he seems to be a plus so far. Of course, the season yet to unfold here. But your top 2 picks in the CHL draft, of course, Brett Budgell from St. John's, Newfoundland, Brad Morrissey from the Tignish area here on PEI, looked both impressive last week in rookie camp. Morrissey's decided to go back to Notre Dame and play there with, again, a PEI native, Devin Prott, coaching that part of the program there in Notre Dame. But again, Brett Budgell, he looked impressive as well. Give us an update on Budgell.
Yeah, both these situations we've known about probably since the draft. We know that we were in a competitive situation with both. Budgell, in our estimation, was a top 10 pick who we got with the 25th pick overall. We knew there was some work to do. Both of these young men have a lot of options, whether it be NCAA, different major or junior A spots across Canada or in the United States even now. So luckily for us, both came to a rookie camp. They've been very professional, both kids and their families. They wanted to see the options. We had a great couple of days with the Budgells. We're waiting on a word this weekend. We believe we're going to hear one way or the other decision time this weekend. Brad Morrissey has decided best for his development to return to Notre Dame, which is fine by us. So it's tough for 16-year-olds to step in, and we want to make sure that kids are mentally and physically ready to play. He didn't think he was, which is fine. That's a big part of our future. We're excited to have both of them as part of our family moving forward. We hope in Budgel's case that sooner rather than later.
Budgel, first look and only look of watching him in the rookie camp last year, looks to be potentially, no matter where he plays next season, to be an impactful player.
Well, he certainly does, and I'm not a big fan of the comparison game, but when people keep asking me, he reminds me of a Jonathan Toews type. He looked like a kid that can play and play comfortably in any situation. He could probably play on any one of your four lines. He could kill penalties. He could be on the power play. Just very, very mature game for a young player. Very well schooled away from the puck, very good battle level. So a lot of elements to be excited about for not only now, but also in the future.
Putting on your GM's hat, of course, Jim, you mentioned already October the 29th is when the cutoff date for trades are concerned. You talked about activity starting to pick up here as well. Anticipating any movement by your club here in the next couple of weeks?
Not a ton. Obviously, we're in a bit of a reload position in terms of our draft picks. So the one thing I want to try to avoid is giving away any more draft picks in our future. We're probably on the opposite. We're going to look to restock some of them. We might have to do something with one of the 97s that we spoke about earlier. But again, right now we want to make sure to see what this roster develops into over the next little bit. It's a tight timeline and it's a bit of a tightrope situation because you only have a small window here before movement is locked up. So we'll have to see what the next couple of weeks transpire.
I'm George Matthews for Islanders head coach and GM Jim Hulton. You've been watching Inside the Islanders.